Paul George, once hailed as an NBA superstar, has become a lightning rod for controversy and ridicule. From his infamous playoff failures to questionable off-court comments, the man once called Playoff P now carries nicknames like Podcast P and Pandemic P. Franchise cornerstone to a polarizing figure has left fans and analysts stunned. But just how did Paul George's once promising legacy spiral into complete madness? Paul George's journey to the NBA wasn't an easy one. Coming out of Fresno State, he was an under-the-radar prospect who didn't receive the same attention as many of his peers. Yet, his potential was undeniable.
With the 10th pick in the 2010 NBA Draft, the Indiana Pacers select Paul George of Fresno State University.
And in 2010, the Indiana Pacers selected him as the 10th overall pick in the NBA Draft. From that moment, George worked hard to prove himself, quickly earning recognition as one of the league's most promising young talents. In Indiana, George truly began to shine. His breakout came during the 2012-13 season when he stepped into a leading role after Danny Granger's injuries left a void in the Pacers lineup.
We are seeing a superstar in the making here with Paul George.
Paul George goes to the rim for the emphatic dunk.
That'll get you going.
George emerged as a versatile two-way star, capable of locking down top scorers on defense while delivering clutch performances on offense. Averaging over 17 points per game that season, he was named the NBA's most improved player, solidifying his status as a rising star. One of the defining moments of George's career came during the Pacers' intense playoff battles against LeBron James and the Miami Heat. Indiana pushed Miami to 7 games in the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals, with George delivering standout performances. His athleticism, defense, and ability to step up in crucial moments earned him comparisons to some of the league's greats. George was no longer just a rising star, he was a player fans believed could lead a team to championship glory. However, George's journey wasn't without setbacks. In 2014, during a Team USA scrimmage, he suffered a horrific leg injury that sidelined him for an entire season. Many doubted whether he could return to his previous form, but George defied expectation.
Injury for sure was the fork in the road, for so many reasons though. Like, you gotta understand, bro, what I felt was at the peak of my career. Like, we just lost to Bron and them. I think that year was 6 games.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 6 or 7. I get mixed up which one we did first, but we took them to a long series. I felt good. Like, I felt like I was turning the corner. I was figuring it out. Like, it was my second time, you know what I mean?
By the time he returned to the Pacers, he was back to playing at an elite level, showcasing his resilience and determination. Despite his regular season success, it was George's playoff performances that captivated fans. During the Pacers' postseason runs, he consistently elevated his game, averaging over 20 points per contest and earning praise for his leadership on the court. Indiana's matchups against the Miami Heat were some of the most memorable in NBA history, with George going toe-to-toe with LeBron James and showing he belonged on the league's biggest stage. Yet for all the promise George showed early in his career, the seeds of future disappointment were already being planted. While he delivered incredible moments, some key playoff failures began to raise questions about his ability to carry a team when it mattered most. These cracks in his performance would grow over time, leading to the controversy and criticism that define his career today. Paul George once called himself Playoff P.
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm used to this. Y'all ain't met Playoff P yet, huh?
A nickname meant to show his dominance when it mattered most. Unfortunately, this bold claim quickly turned into a joke, as his performances often failed to live up to the hype. It all started during the 2018 playoffs when George and the Oklahoma City Thunder faced the Utah Jazz in the first round. Rookie Donovan Mitchell torched the Thunder, averaging 28 points per game and leading the Jazz to a series win in just 6 games. George, who promised to lock down Mitchell, struggled to back up his words. Fans and analysts alike began mocking the Playoff P label. The controversy didn't end there. In 2019, George faced another humiliating playoff moment, this time against Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. In Game 5 of their first-round series, Lillard hit an iconic 37-foot buzzer beater over George to eliminate the Thunder. Instead of praising Lillard's incredible shot, George called it a bad shot during his post-game interview.
Yeah, we probably would have had a lot of possessions of where guys broke plays off, where guys rush shots, where guys turn the ball over playing fast.
The The comment came across as petty and bitter, painting him as a sore loser. Fans didn't let him forget it, as memes and jokes flooded social media, cementing the moment as a defining low point in George's career. Things only got worse when George was traded to the Los Angeles Clippers in 2019. The Clippers, paired with superstar Kawhi Leonard, were expected to contend for a championship. However, their 2020 playoff run ended in disaster. Despite holding a 3-1 lead over the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals, the Clippers completely fell apart, losing the series in 7 games. George's performance in Game 7 was particularly dreadful. He scored just 10 points while shooting 25% from the field and infamously hit the side of the backboard on a 3-point attempt. The moment earned him the nickname Pandemic P and became a symbol of the Clippers' historic collapse. The criticism of George reached new heights after the Clippers' failure. Fans questioned his ability to perform under pressure, and analysts criticized his leadership and decision-making. Despite being a key piece in one of the biggest trades in NBA history, George failed to deliver when his team needed him most. His Playoff P nickname, once a badge of confidence, became a running joke. Paul George's time with the Philadelphia 76ers has been nothing short of disappointing. Known for his scoring ability and defensive skills, George joined the team with hopes of revitalizing his career. However, his performance has hit a career low, averaging just 16.2 points per game, his worst since becoming a full-time starter. Former teammate Patrick Beverley openly criticized him, comparing him unfavorably to James Harden and saying George isn't meeting expectations. For a player earning a massive contract, these struggles have raised serious questions about his value to the team. Adding to his woes are recurring injuries. George has dealt with physical setbacks that have kept him off the court and disrupted his rhythm. Injuries have plagued much of his career, but in Philadelphia, they've become a glaring issue. His inconsistency in playing games has made it difficult for the 76ers to build chemistry and maintain momentum. Fans and analysts have grown frustrated with his inability to stay healthy, which has only fueled criticism of his commitment and focus. Off the court, George's podcast, Podcast P, has created even more controversy. Instead of focusing on improving his game, George has been accused of prioritizing his media ventures. His podcast episodes often spark backlash, with fans labeling him Podcast P rather than Playoff P. Many see his podcast as a distraction, especially since he has released more episodes than games played this season. Critics have pointed out that a player struggling on the court shouldn't be stirring up drama off it. One of the most controversial moments came when George made comments about rookie Jared McCain being the 76ers' most consistent player. While likely meant as a compliment, the statement came across as a backhanded insult to other teammates, including Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Fans and analysts slammed George for creating unnecessary tension in a locker room already under pressure. The backlash against George's podcast and comments has worsened his public perception. Many fans believe he lacks self-awareness and isn't prioritizing basketball. Social media is flooded with posts mocking him, with some even calling for him to retire and focus on podcasting full-time. The criticism has become so intense that it has overshadowed his contributions to the team. Paul George's off-court antics, particularly his Podcast P, have become a lightning rod for criticism. While many players use media platforms to connect with fans, George's comments have frequently sparked backlash. One of the most infamous moments came when he referred to the Clippers as the B team, reflecting on his time in Los Angeles. Although he later clarified that he was talking about the fan perception of the Clippers, the damage was done. Fans and analysts saw it as an insult to a franchise that traded significant assets to acquire him. The backlash extends beyond his comments. Fans and analysts alike have labeled George as corny and detached from the realities of his declining career. The nickname Podcast P has replaced Playoff P, highlighting how his media endeavors overshadow his on-court struggles. Social media posts mocking George have gone viral, with many questioning his priorities. Critics argue that a player struggling on the court should focus on improving rather than creating controversial content off it. When compared to other aging stars like LeBron James, the contrast is stark. Despite being older, LeBron has maintained his reputation through consistent performance, leadership, and professionalism. While George has been criticized for airing grievances and creating distractions, LeBron has focused on uplifting his teammates and continuing to contribute at a high level. This comparison has only intensified the scrutiny of George's actions, making it harder for him to rebuild his reputation. Public perception of Paul George has shifted dramatically. Once celebrated for his skills and resilience, he is now often viewed as a player more interested in podcasting than basketball. His personality, combined with his off-court remarks, has alienated fans who once rooted for him. To many, he seems detached from the work ethic and commitment required to sustain success in the NBA. Paul George's career has reached a critical juncture, and the path to redemption starts with acknowledging his mistakes. To repair his reputation, George must recognize how his off-court distractions, inconsistent performances, and controversial remarks have hurt his standing in the NBA. By owning up to these missteps, he can begin to rebuild trust with fans, teammates, and the broader basketball community. The first step is shifting focus entirely to his game and stepping away from external activities like his podcast, which has brought more criticism than praise. For George to regain respect, consistent performance is key. At 34, he may not return to his peak form, but he can still contribute meaningfully by playing to his strengths. This means becoming a reliable scorer and defender once again. Consistency on the court will not only improve the 76ers' chances of success, but also silence detractors who question his commitment. Beyond stats, George needs to take on a leadership role. A player of his experience should mentor younger teammates, offer support during tough times, and set an example of professionalism. Leadership isn't just about words, it's about actions. George must prioritize team success over individual recognition. Instead of airing grievances or making controversial statements, he should focus on creating a positive atmosphere in the locker room. Engaging with teammates, including younger players like Jared McCain, in a supportive way can strengthen team dynamics and foster trust. Fans and analysts need to see George as a team-first player, not someone distracted by off-court endeavors. Can Paul George turn things around? The answer depends on his willingness to change. While his reputation has taken a significant hit, it's not beyond repair. NBA history is filled with players who faced harsh criticism but managed to bounce back through hard work and humility. If George dedicates himself to consistent performance, leadership, and a renewed focus on basketball, he can rewrite his narrative. However, the window for redemption is closing. Fans have been patient, but patience wears thin when high expectations remain unmet. If George fails to address his shortcomings, his legacy risks being defined by what could have been rather than what he achieved. While his skill set and basketball IQ are undeniable, they must be paired with discipline and commitment to truly make an impact. Paul George's career has shifted from stardom to a mix of struggles on the court and controversies off it. Once a top-tier player known for his two-way skills, George now faces declining stats, public backlash, and a tarnished reputation due to questionable decisions and distractions. But the question still remains: will Paul George rise above his current challenges and reclaim his place among the NBA's elite, or will his legacy remain clouded by missteps? Let us know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to check out our next ones shown on screen.